Hey all, this is 012 Boku
Agent Jackass.
and we're coming at you with another TV review, and it is back to 24 Season 1. That is right, 24 Season 1, and we are doing 4am to 5am, and man, what an episode that was. And given, again, our new format to these things now, at least with full reviews, what did you like about it, Jarek?
Well, I mean, I kind of mentioned this to Boku earlier, but I love the fact that the individual episodes do not have titles. They just go by, like, what hour, these operations are taking place in.
Yeah.
Which, again, is another one of those neat OCD, anal retentive little details they added into this show. Also, you get to learn a lot more about, David Palmer, his relationships, and it's really setting up for some very interesting implications later on because, this show must have the people who watch this show, they were doing a way better job of like incorporating that real life to television shit than what's it called, Law and Order ever did. Seriously, if you've looked into the truth of the Michael Jackson allegations on the Razor Fist channel, you're gonna know just how full of shit Law and Order was by that time.
Well, that's why not to cut you off the add more there really quick, Jarek, but that's why I've heard people tell me. I know it's changed over the years that it's been on too, so I'm a little hesitant to check it out, but that's why everybody said I should check out the show Criminal Minds because it follows that same thing, and people said it did it in a better format than Law and Order could have ever flippin' done it in. So I've heard a lot of people tell me I should check out the show Criminal Minds with Joe Montana and whoever else is a part of that one.
This is also a weird episode because this is like the least gun-heavy episode. You will not see Mr. Bauer with his loyal piece. By the way, this isn't real, it's an airsoft.
But they can't tell by the orange end, but
yeah. But the funny thing is, again, it's like Bauer does not need a gun. If he wants a gun, he'll just find some goon and kill him for it.
Mm-hmm.
But the saying still stands. You mess with Bauer, you get the Beretta.
Or in this case, Sig Sauer.
Yeah, I mean, you never really see him much with the Beretta, but, it is what it is.
Yeah, believe it or not, later seasons, and I think he'll have, I think someone will give him, throughout the season, he'll use, fudge, what's the, a Glock. A Glock that the cops use. So
I think I also saw him with a loot off an H&K special every now and again, but, Bauer doesn't need a gun to kill you. He's Jack fucking Bauer.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And let's see here. Well, if that was your main thing, my main thing is, again, love the flow, love everything that we deal with this. And granted, if you guys have seen my short review right now, I won't go into every detail because that's why I do the short reviews, because it gives you guys a shortened version of what we do. And if we end up with a short video at times, hey, but given all that you noticed I mentioned in that, again, I have to give it to, again, the Palmer scene was great. I didn't give him a shout out in my favorite characters, and I'll probably do a dark horse character for me now. I have to give it to Dennis Haysbert, Senator David Palmer, because when he hears the allegations about Keith, he keeps himself reserved, but you can tell, again, by the way he looks in the face, just how angry he's getting. It's like the wheels are turning, like, did Keith do this? But no, Maureen Kingsley, who gave him this information, she has to be lying. She has to be lying. This can't be true. And then, when he goes into Keith's room, he completely, loses it. And then I'd have to say for my other one, because I only went into it a little bit at the end, but because I liked it so much, Ira Gaines. Yes, we know this guy's serious. Yes, we saw what he did to, I think it was Heather. I forget the name, Heather. I recently saw the recent video I did on that, but I already forgot. But it was like Heather, Amanda's one girlfriend, who was trying to get more money from Ira Gaines. And if you remember, Jonathan, who's disguised right now as Martin Belkin, the photographer, took her out by shooting her with his sniper rifle. And, basically, okay, we know this guy means serious business. But if you didn't think that was enough, Ira Gaines, after he gets Kim, he's like, hey, where's the other girl? Oh, we had to kill her. We had to get rid of her. Well, okay, well, let's not meet here. Let's meet back at the compound. You know, Kim's trying to, throughout the episode, get people's attention. Gaines puts her in the trunk. You know, Rick and Dan are arguing over, like, we should just go split. Dan doesn't listen. He's like, hey, we're going to get $20,000. When you get there, you know, Gaines is like, you know, my people told me the other girl was alive somewhere at a hospital. You know, we've been monitoring the situation, and you told me she was dead. Well, she might have been dead as we thought. Well, let me tell you something, Dan. You're either dead, you're
either kind of dead or you're dead.
No. He's like, there's no such thing as mostly dead. You're either dead or you're not dead. Let me show you. And then, yeah, just shoots him. I think they were going for in the head, but when you see the next episode, he's going to be shot in the chest, weirdly enough. But, yeah, I think it's one thing they just didn't figure out with the camera angle how they wanted to go on that, because it looks like he shoots him in the head, but I think he's shot in the chest point blank. But either way, it doesn't mind. But either way, you learn with that scene that Ira Gaines is not a man to mess with.
Plus, he just looks at the other guy as like, well, looks like you're promoted.
Oh, yeah, I brought that up in the short review, yeah. And then, you've just been promoted.
And Gaines, you know, they kind of don't really tell you, like, what this guy's background is. Mm-hmm. But you can tell he's clearly done something on this level multiple times, because the guy who got arrested,
George Penikoff, yeah.
Yeah, Penikoff. He tells
Greg Penikoff.
Greg Penikoff. He tells Bauer, if I don't report in and with a call in order to check up at a certain time, you know, they're gonna know something's up. So
Bauer, that's right, yeah.
Bauer has to get him out, which, by the way, it was brilliant how he did it. He faked a fight with this guy in the holding cell, and then made sure that he swiped the access card off the cop and got it to Penikoff.
Since you brought that up, not to interject here really quick, once to give him the note of his phone so they could have a private conversation without the chief of police or George Mason listening in, and then twice to get the key card so Penikoff could escape his cell and both him and Bauer could make it out of the building, because obviously people are like, well, how did they get out? And like, guys, police stations have secret access ways and stuff like that. It's possible, and I'm actually glad they didn't turn it into a grandiose thing in the first season, because we'll get other seasons where they'll do similar stuff and they'll show you all the way of how they did it. But I like how this one, they left it up to our imagination, and you know, it's just George Mason and the chief of police trying to figure it out. And then when Jesse Hampton's partner comes in, you know, the chief is like, I thought you were clocked out 5 minutes ago. No, I'm still... And then as soon as George Mason heard that, he's like, all right, guys, we're looking here, we're looking there. And then they're like, oh, Jack Bauer's finding my key card. So I love how George Mason knew instantly and knew they had to go. But I mean, no, that was a great way to put up Jarek, because Greg Penikoff says, yeah, if I don't do this, these guys will find me, they will kill me.
But the neat thing is, you know, he has to call to a payphone, you know, you think... So, of course, Bauer does the logical thing, put a trace on all phones, you know, and lines in that area. Well, here's the neat thing. Gaines had a little flip phone stationed underneath the payphone.
Yep.
Because he probably knew that, you know, this guy would be traced or followed or some other. So, it's another sign that, you know, we have no real information on this Gaines guy, but given the professional he hired to get the ID card for the photographer, how he handled this situation... Penikoff giving us little brief glimpses as to just how serious this operation is.
Yeah.
You see that this Gaines guy is a much bigger player than he's letting on.
Yeah, well, and not to mention that, since you brought it up, that, you know, when Mason and Jack and everybody get there to rearrest Penikoff, because, again, there's a body in the trunk of a car Gaines wants him to get rid of, and there's this dead, badly mutilated body, the face is disfigured, I don't think they mentioned it, but I'll just give a spoiler to it. I think there's no teeth in his mouth. His fingers have been disfigured, so they can't do, you know, thumbprints or fingerprints. You know, so this really was something where whoever this guy was, they went to town on all of this to make sure local police, federal agents, nobody could do it. But again... And I'm not even going to mention it this time. This is before we had a black president and that, you know, Senator David Palmer's a black guy. Again, even if he wasn't black, you know, killing a senator, you know, or any acting member of Congress it shows you how this is a big deal and this should not be taken lightly. So again,
well, and not only that, Bauer thinks, Pentecost told me my daughter could potentially be in the trunk of this car we're looking for. Instead, he's got like the dead body of some important person he needs ID'd. This kind of shows that Gaines, to some level, probably figured Pentecost would get picked up and would drop that information to try to get himself free. So he might have done this also to like throw Bauer off his game.
Could be if he considered all the possibilities. Absolutely. So I mean, those are a few of the things that, as you can see, we liked about it. I mean, overall, the whole show was great. Now we'll get to the characters. Let me just bring that up again. Again, everybody was acted very well in this. I mean, obviously, I don't want to speak for Jarek, but I think we're going to mention this almost every episode we do at 24. Hats off again, Kiefer Sutherland, Jack Bauer. Great acting as always. Great show. Again, I never knew you didn't play a lot of good guys in your career, Mr. Sutherland, but I have to say that as Jack Bauer playing, not to jump ahead, but playing the tragic hero, you do it absolutely brilliantly. Just shout out again to you. But I have to say, in this episode, I know we didn't mention him, and I already mentioned my Dark Horse favorite, Dennis Haysbert, Senator David Palmer, but if you guys remember my short review, I gave it, first of all, to Xander Berkeley, who played George Mason, because in this one, George is still playing the jerk a bit, but he wants to know, what's going on. And given everything that we just talked about with the police station, with Greg Pentecost, with Jack Bauer, there's actually a thing at the end when, because Jack tells him a little bit that there's an assassination to the President Palmer, because George Mason didn't know about this yet, that there's an assassination to him and that this man's connected with the group. So he's like, okay, well, we knew there was a threat, but we didn't know it was an assassination attempt. And, after they pick up Greg Pentecost, when they find the body, George Mason and him get to talking, and he's like, George is like, okay, Jack, I'm not stupid. I know you have issues with me, but what's going on? And he's like, Richard Walsh and Scott Baylor were killed because they said there was a dirty agent inside our organization. So I'm sorry, George. I didn't want to trust you at the time because I didn't know if you were one of them. But, it's sort of like this thing where he's telling him to be cautious, but he's telling him because he's starting to think maybe Mason's on the level, because if Mason wasn't, he probably wouldn't have went through all the proper channels just to get Jack arrested. And again, Mason, who's like, okay, you told me, so what do we do? He's like, well, I gotta follow up on this dead body. And he's like, well, tell you what, I'll go back to the police precinct, I'll grill Pentecost, but then after that, if you guys need me, I'll be at division. So great scene, and they come to an understanding. And again, Xander Berkeley just plays a great George Mason. And for my second one, since we mentioned him, I gotta give it to, there he is, Michael Massey, Ira Gaines. Michael Massey, just serious villain. He really brought it out in this one. And also, Michael Massey, your stone cold delivery right before you killed Dan, and how you're just acting about it afterwards like it's an everyday thing. Just well done. Basically, it even says it in the synopsis that we're looking at, trademark IMDb, just to be safe. It even says how Kim finds out how dangerous Ira Gaines is, and yeah, she definitely does. How about you, Jericho? Who are your favorites?
Well, for me, I'm going to go with my number one being Michael Massey, a.k.a. Ira Gaines, because man, this guy is a psycho. Seriously, this dude's got to be feeding himself on nothing but potatoes, alcohol, and violence, because
well, he is drinking. Gaines, I haven't seen him with potatoes. He is drinking.
Ira Gaines or IRA Gaines. Hey, you be the judge. And seriously, this dude is a stone cold psychopath, and I fucking love it, man. I mean, he just pops this dude right in front of his friends. He's like, well, looks like you're promoted. Another day at the office.
Well, yeah, and he just looks at him, and you can see there's a little bit of glee in his voice, but it's just so stone cold the way he delivers it. You've just been promoted.
And honestly, if it wasn't for him just knocking it out of the park, it probably would have been Dennis Haysbert as Senator Palmer, because
I was having a feeling you were going to go for it. I was having it because you really liked that scene. But go ahead. Dude. Elaborate again. Go ahead.
This entire episode almost became the whole just Dennis Haysbert because he was so good. I mean, from just senator on the verge of greatness, comforting his wife and his children, to confronting his friend, the reporter, finding out that there's a very strong possibility your son not only did it, but that there's people who know he did it.
Yes.
And then having to confront his son and have his son try to throw up the, oh, well, you weren't there, Dad. You were in Chicago giving a speech. It's like, what do you want me to do? Fucking Superman my ass over there? It's like, he's a man. He's not a Superman.
And
frankly, he's also the Barack Obama we need, but frankly, at this point, kind of don't deserve.
Yeah. Well, again, it's like how you said, like how when he's trying to figure out the truth, he basically just looks at Keith, who's played by, since we're talking about the actress, who's played by Vasella Shannon, who also is a tremendous actor in this season. He just looks at him and goes, we'll talk about my shortcomings as a father as another time. No, you will tell me what happened. I don't have to answer to you. And then the part where he grabs him, he's like, you will answer me, and just like shakes him. And then it's like, his son's like, holy shit. And then he even looks like, okay, I'm going too far. Like, because he's like, what the hell did I just do? But again, the desperate senator and the desperate father meeting together as one, because again, the thing to go along with this is, who cooked up the story? Why was this hidden from him? Why did they do this to protect him from it? Because obviously, again, you can tell this is where the Hollywood aspect of it comes in, or the entertainment aspect, I should say, by now, comes in, is because you never have a senator, usually, who's this pristine or clean. They do exist, but they're very rare. And the thing is, for a senator who has run his campaign on telling the truth and wanting to do what's right, having this under you, it wasn't as squeaky clean as you thought, Senator Palmer. Apologies.
Well, it's just it's so great to see him just transition through all these various aspects, staying cool as a cucumber up until he gets, that notification. It's like, your son more than likely is super guilty, and there's evidence to prove it.
Well, again, and not to bring real life politics in it, but it goes into, even when your intentions are full of good aspirations, what did your family do, or what did people in your administration as a senator, as a president, doesn't matter, do, to basically cock up your image? Because again, this for any presidential candidate, this could be make or break. Because let's say, granted, not getting into it now, the current stuff, you could say, well, that would never happen. But again, when we had some modicum of decency within our Congresses, this stuff would be make or break. And in fact, as I'm concerned, it still is. But like I said, 24, we can bring up a lot of the current stuff. We probably will from time to time, but I know what I've been hearing recently just ticks me off, and I'd rather not get ticked off by doing a lot of comparing. I had a feeling, even doing the short with you yesterday, I was wondering if you were going to pick David Palmer, and you did. Hey.
He's a great character. He's the Obama we wish he was.
Well, that's why after I was done doing my short review, I wish I would have mentioned him, but I didn't. But I'm like, when we do our actual big review of this, I'll give him a dark horse shout out, because I don't know what it was. There was something about George Mason that I loved in the episode, and Sandra Berkeley's performance. But no, Palmer, Dennis Haysbert was right behind. And I know some people say, oh, well, Dennis Haysbert, he's not that good of an actor. I'm like, you gotta take him away from the Allstate commercials, which sadly he hasn't done in years. But they even joke about that in later seasons on 24. It's like, hey, you're the Allstate guy, but you're also Senator President David Palmer.
Well, and I know people are gonna hate me for saying this. He's still, to this day, arguably the best All-State representative they had. That
is also very true, because look how All-State's piddling in obscurity right now.
Really.
So, it's like, hey, but either way, but that's why I say 24 was one of those shows that really got me to see how good of an actor Dennis Haysbert is. But then I've had other films that he's been in where he's just as good. And then again, he was also one of the crony guys in Heat, which I didn't know. I know he's in the movie more, but I know he's also the driver in the shootout who gets the first guy to get killed. Start the car. Yeah,
you must begin, you idiots.
But yeah, I didn't know that was Dennis Haysbert till everybody said, "Hey, they killed the Allstate guy," and I'm like, "It's Dennis Haysbert?" And I'm like, "Okay, it is," because you look up the cast, and I'm like, "Okay, so that is Dennis Haysbert in '95, alrighty." But all right. Final thoughts, since we had that little bit of a tangent. Again, great episode, great at just leading to the next thing. Again, I love how this show is a great definition of a slow burn, where not everything is pizzazz and excitement, but I've realized in every season I've watched, when it culminates to the whole end, you're just like, damn, that just... I mean, it makes sense in what they write. And again, like I've told you, the show goes... learning about the show, watching the audio commentary, all the special features, it goes through rewrites, changes, stuff they never considered before. I mean, they really put a lot of effort into all 8 seasons of the show, and season 1 was no different. And I have to say, just the build they're going to and what they do to get there is like, oh man, and all the pieces that all of these seasons do. It's like, okay, once you think the crisis is averted, no, it keeps ramping up. It's like, okay, more than a simple kidnapping, more than a simple assassination. What does Jack Bauer have to do with it? Just wait and see. How about you, Jarek? Anything else?
You know what scares me about this show?
What?
For as absolutely amazing as it is in every way possible, casting, acting, whatnot.
Yeah.
I have never once seen a theory from MatPat on this show. And he's done food theory, really bad food theory, by the way. I used to work in food service, you asshat. He's done film theory. He's done game theory. Why no 24? Seriously, Mario's a communist? I mean, I'm sorry, but cuckoo. But yeah, as amazing as this show is, and as great as it would be to see somebody who's actually, got a better education than us and way more money and way more setup. I'm just curious, MatPat, where's my 24 theory?
Well, hey, there you go. But yeah, you guys have our thoughts on it. This has been the next episode, and to give you a heads up, hopefully we'll get it to sometime this week, or we'll get to it the next weekend, where I'll either do the short review, or we can get both the short review and this review in, but it'll be well, I know I'm smacking this, but I'm just using it as an example, but it'll be time for season 1 of the original Full Metal Alchemist coming up, so look forward to that, and we'll get into 3 more episodes of this before we get into our next movie. But hey, I just wanted to let you guys know that, again, this has been awesome, and I actually like the format that me and Jarek do. This has been doing really well, and I like how, if you guys like the shorter reviews, it seems like you do. You've been giving a lot of attention to the shorter reviews. A lot of you seem to still be watching quite a bit of our long reviews, and hey, I don't mind at all. But shout out for all of you who have been watching, and subscribers may be the same, but I don't think I told you, Jarek. Captain Ron was at I think 68, 70 views.
Nice.
And I'm like, yeah, exactly. But again, I looked up the search for Captain Ron on YouTube after I uploaded the video. Apparently, it's a really high searched movie. So, hey, but yeah, just let us know what you guys think about 24 episode, or hour episode 4am to 5am, and just leave a comment down below. Until then, this is 012 Boku.
And this is Agent Jackass.
And we'll see you guys again, alright? Deuces.